Hi, and welcome back, or welcome to Sidekick COO. I'm Sandra B, your Sidekick COO, and today we are going to talk a little bit about hard conversations that you have to have with clients in your business and what to do. So we're talking about prospect or client ghosts you. When a client ghosts you and you have like deliverables that have already been done, when scope starts to creep, what to do, and following up on invoices and all of those lovely things. So let's get to it. So first of all of these things, the answer to like how you're going to handle all of these things is really to look at your process, which means you have to have one. You have to have a process for dealing with all of these things in your business. And a lot of the times you're not going to have a process for it until it happens, unless you're listening to this video and it hasn't happened yet and you're thinking, ooh, I should have a process for it. So if that's the case, document a process so that you know if it does happen, how you're going to deal with it. All right. So you're always going to refer back to your process. What should the process maybe be? For instance, when you have a prospect, it's somebody that is potentially going to be a client. They're not a client yet. They haven't paid you anything. They haven't signed anything, but you've had a discovery call, you've sent them a proposal, and now nothing. It's just crickets. For something like that, typically what I do is I just have a certain number of times that I'm willing to follow up with people. I'm not here to chase anybody. If somebody wants to work with me, they're going to work with me. And if they don't want to work with me, they're not going to work with me. And what I have found a lot of the time is the people that ghost me, which is super, super rare. But if they do, it's usually just something's happened. Something's happened in their business, or something happened in their personal life that just took them away and they totally forgot to follow up, or they had it where they're like, oh, yeah, I need to follow up with Sandra, but stuff just keeps happening and it just doesn't make it the priority list. So typically those people, if I ever have had somebody that completely ghosted me, I think they've all ended up reaching out to me at some point in time, profusely apologizing. So I don't think I've ever really had anybody just completely ghost me. Maybe at the early days I might have, I just can't remember. It's really about not counting your chickens before they're hatched, right? So I don't put a lot of expectation on a discovery call or a proposal sent out, or I try not to as much as possible. Even though I might send it to somebody that I really, really want to work with, I try and just divorce myself from the expectation and say, well, I've sent it out and, now the ball's in their court and I can't control that. So there's no reason for me to worry. What I do is I send the proposal. If I don't hear back from them, again, this depends on how busy I know they are. So if it's somebody who I know they're very busy people, I'll wait 2 days. If it's someone who I don't really know that well, don't know much about them, then I just wait 1 day. But that first interaction is literally just me saying, hey, just wanted to make sure that you got this proposal that I sent you on this date. Let me know if you have any questions at all. If it's a new person, I might say something like, and just a reminder that this proposal is valid until X date. Usually that expiration is in the original email, but if it's somebody that I really don't know, I'm going to remind them that there's the expiration date. So it's just basically, hey, I want to make sure that you got this. If you didn't get it, let me know and I'll resend it ASAP. Otherwise, let me know if you have any questions, and just a reminder that the proposal expires on this date. If after usually about 3 days, I still haven't heard from them, I'd send a little follow-up that says, hey, just checking in, making sure everything's okay. I haven't heard back from you yet. And, I know you're busy, so I'll follow up with you again on this date if I haven't heard back. And just kind of like light and no pressure really to hear back from them, and just being understanding. That typically opens them up. If you're really nice about it, a lot of people will be like, oh my gosh, I know, I'm so sorry. I will have it back to you by this date. Whenever it's going to expire, I'll do a reminder 3 days before and then the day before. If I haven't heard from anybody at all of those times that I don't hear from them, usually that's it. I don't follow up with them again afterwards with anything. And if they come back to me, it's a whole new process. There's a whole new timeline. So that proposal expires and it is expired. And especially if they haven't responded to me at all. And also depending on what they say when they do come back, if it's a really kind of lame reason, there's a good chance I'm just not going to work with them. But the key is just having that timeline down for when you're going to follow up with people. Now, when it's a client and they ghost you and there's like deliverables involved, maybe you've already done the work and you haven't gotten paid, or maybe there's something that you need in order to do the work. Those two situations are different, and you should have two different processes for those. But again, it's going to be about having that process set up and then just following your process. When are you going to follow up with them? I do highly recommend two things in this area, especially when dealing with clients. One, have multiple ways of getting in touch with them. Obviously, their email, maybe a DM, maybe something like Voxer or WhatsApp, maybe, did I say phone number? Phone number, if I haven't said that already, and mailing address. You definitely want to have multiple ways of contacting them, and their mailing address is super important because that's how your lawyer is going to get in touch with them if necessary. What you want to do is have your process documented, and again, you're going to have a different process depending on, is this something where they owe you money, or is this something where a project can't continue because you're waiting for information on them, and you're going to have that outlined. And then depending on if this is an existing client that you have a really good relationship with, then you might want to not change your process, but just modify, which means change. Modify your process just slightly for existing clients who you have a good relationship with, who like, this is the first time. If you've been working with somebody for like 3 years, this is the first time they've ever ghosted you, then likely it's just something big in their business happening. There's something big in their life happening, and it's actually not them trying to like go to actually ghost you. So in those cases, I don't always follow the exact process 100%. And then also it depends on if the person is responding back to you as well. So it might change your timelines on when you follow up and things like that if somebody's responding back to you. So if you have send a reminder one day, wait 3 days, and then send another reminder, but you hear back from them the day before that second reminder, you're not going to send it. Like if you already heard back from them, you're not going to send the reminder the very next day. Doesn't make sense to do it. So that's why like reminders, like some reminders having automated are great, but you really have to think about the process as a whole and know what the process is, so that if there is an automated reminder that's going to go out and you can't turn it off for whatever reason, you would let them know. Like if somebody's actually reached out to you already, you can just let them know, hey, thanks so much for letting me know. Just so you know, there's probably going to be an automated reminder happening. You can just ignore it since we've already made these arrangements. If somebody is a brand new client and I have never worked with them before and I don't know anything about them and I don't really have a relationship with them, then I'm probably going to stick with my process pretty darn strictly, which would include sending something off to my lawyer. If this person owes me money, they get to a certain stage and it goes to my lawyer. And my lawyer sends them a nice little message that says, hey, Sandra's done these things for you and you have not paid. You have to pay. And typically that gets most people to pay. I've only ever had to do that like 3 times in the last, 8 or whatever years. So actually not even 3 times. Maybe only 1 time in this business. And the other 2 times I'm thinking about are before I started this business, like 12 years ago. So yeah, it doesn't come up often that I actually have to send anything through my lawyer. And that's only if money is owed. If it's just I'm waiting for them to send me information in order to move forward on a project, then I never send anything to my lawyer for that because it doesn't really matter. I just let them know, hey, you have until this date to get me this information or else I'm going to move on and you'll have to get back in line. And again, this is all processes that you're going to follow, but also, especially with clients, it is things that you've already outlined in your contract or your statement of work. So you should already have something signed by them that says that you're going to do this, they're going to do this, this is what they get from you, this is how much they're going to pay for it, and this is all the timelines, and these are the cancellation policies. All of that should already be agreed to in writing, in legalese, so that you have something to fall back on in order to, make sure that nothing comes back to you legally speaking. So like if you have a cancellation policy where it's like, if you wait X number of days, the person is X number of days late getting you content in order to do a deliverable, then there's a pause in the project. If that's in your contract or statement of work and like signed and everything, then you can go ahead and pause that project and not have to worry about them coming back to you saying, hey, you messed up my whole business because you didn't deliver on this. So having that contract, that statement of work, and then the processes and procedures that you're going to follow in all of these situations, those are going to be your key to having those difficult conversations, because it's just reminders being sent out. When scope starts to creep, that's when like you actually typically have to have a conversation, because this is different for every client and how they do it is different and how they try and sneak it in there is different. So usually what I do is the very first time that the scope starts creeping, I will say I am not 100% perfect with this. I have a hard time saying no, but I am getting better and I am practicing. But as soon as somebody requests something that is out of the scope of the agreement, you should be, one, deciding, is this something you're going to do for them? Is it going to be something you do for free or something you're going to charge them for? Those are the first two decisions that you need to make. And then you need to go back to them and say, okay, hey, just so you know, this little piece of work that you have asked for is out of the scope of our original contract. I'm happy to do it for you. However, it's going to cost you X number of dollars. Or I'm happy to do it for you. I'll do it pro bono this one time, but wanted to let you know that, one, it's going to add this much time to our timeline for delivery, and also, two, that any future requests for things outside of the scope would result in additional fees. Just making sure that you either are charging them for it or you're letting them know that in the future you're going to charge them for it, and regardless, it is outside of the scope of your original agreement. Just makes sure that they understand that you're not someone that they can just like take advantage of. And then the last thing I just want to cover is just following up on invoices. This is the one thing where a lot of people are uncomfortable around doing it. And again, it is just about having a process to follow and being human as well. In all of my years of working in every industry that I've worked in, I can tell you like the number of people that are actually out there trying to take advantage of you are very slim to nil. Even the people that are out there who they're not necessarily out to take advantage of you, but if they feel wronged, they'll just flip on you. Even that is a very small percentage. Most people want to pay for work well done. Most people want the work to be completed, and most people are happy to pay. So when you're doing your invoicing policy, and of course this might depend on the industry you're in, sometimes you have to be a little bit more strict than others. But for the majority of people that I know, majority of the people in this online space, you can afford to be kind. You can afford to give people the benefit of the doubt and not get that lawyer involved in your very first email, which I have seen people do. Just so you know, if this invoice isn't paid, I'm going to have to refer it to the lawyer or escalate it, and they CC their legal team or whatnot. I don't recommend doing that on the very first invoice. Like I said, most people want to pay. People who are having trouble with the invoice for some reason, they don't respond well if you immediately threaten legal action the very first email. But if you are open to having a discussion about it, and you say, usually what I do is I say, hey, just wanted to check in. This invoice is overdue. Is everything okay? Let me know if you have any questions about anything or whatnot. And just being open to having the conversation. And I'm pretty open with, making allowances for people depending on the person. If it's somebody that I've worked with a lot, or I know people who have worked with them a lot and there's never had a problem, and this person is, has a financial issue, I'm happy to make accommodations in order for them to pay over a longer period of time or whatnot. If it's somebody brand new and I don't know anything about them, it really depends on what I can know about them and deduce about them. But I typically try and just be kind and understand that most people want to pay. So again, have your process, follow your process, but don't automate the crap out of it so that you can't have any human interaction, because that tends to cause more problems than it saves. That's all for today. If you have enjoyed this, if learned anything from it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you know anybody that needed to hear it, please share the video with them. Why don't you just go and do that now? I'll wait, I don't mind. And always, together we thrive. Have a great one.